Alright, let's jump right into it. I don't want to waste any time. A few weeks ago I made a video talking about some of the best TVs to purchase for next gen consoles. On that video, one of the most heavily commented comments was, do I recommend the Sony X900H or the LG Nano90 or NanoCell90? That's a great question, very valid question, and in this video I'm going to break it down for you. So let's do this. Let's talk about the nerdy stuff first, all the specs of both the Sony and the LG, and then from there I'd like to give you a clear-cut idea of what you should do based on what kind of movie watching or game playing that you're doing. I'll give you an idea of which route that you should go if you're caught in the dilemma. Now, the only reason I'm making this video right now is because I'm also caught in the dilemma. A few weeks ago I purchased the LG NanoCell90. Now the X900H is the same price. The 65-inch for both models is $999. I think that I'm going to try and purchase the Sony X900H now, and then I want to see how it does. Now, the only issue is the X900H is not available in my location at the moment for Best Buy's website, so hopefully it gets back in stock before the price goes back up. So if it does, I'm going to purchase it, do an unboxing, and then give you my full review. So as of right now, the LG NanoCell90 is a TV that I've been using for 2 weeks. I know a lot about this TV just because I've been using it, so I know more about that TV than the X900, but let's break down the specs. Now, before I get into it, I'd like to apologize for my camera. The autofocus feature is starting to act up. In the last video that I uploaded, it was as well, so bear with me until I figure it out. I'm not sure why I keep zooming in and zooming out. I'm trying to figure that out, so hopefully I'll have that figured out by the next video. Let's get into the specs. So let's go over the X900H first, and then we'll go into the LG. So the X900H has a 4K panel. Both TVs are 4K, 120 Hertz. There's no upscaling feature, so it's native 120, stays at 120. Sony's got the triluminous display with their X1 processor, so they've got excellent contrast ratio. If you're an OG in the TV game, for the last 20 years, Sony has just been at the top of the game in terms of contrast ratio for the year. So if this was 2000, they did really well for the models at that time. Now we're in 2020, Sony is still killing the game in this regard. Sony's got the full array LED panel that supports local dimming, so does the LG, so that's not anything special there. They're both LED panels, not QLED, so if you're looking for a QLED TV, that's a completely different video. Sony does support HDR, HLG, and Dolby Vision. Dolby Vision seems to be the new standard for TVs. If a TV doesn't have Dolby Vision, then you're kind of like, okay, I don't know if I should really purchase this TV for the price range, for anything from $800 to like $1,300-$1,400, or $800 and above, let's say. The Sony has 802.11a, so it's the Wi-Fi 5 chip in there, which is standard at this point. Wi-Fi 6 is what TVs are slowly going to. Now the Sony has 4 HDMI ports, 2 of them being HDMI 2.1, so technically you can do 4K 120 because of the HDMI 2.1 port, but there's a little bit of a caveat. So here's the issue with the Sony. Over the last few weeks, Sony's been getting a lot of heat because this model specifically has had a blur issue at 4K 120. Sony has finally addressed that issue, so they're saying that they are working on it. So if you're looking to purchase the Sony and you want the 4K 120 and you want to use it right away with your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox Series X, you're going to have to wait a little bit. It is coming via a future firmware update, and along with that, there are a few other features that are not enabled yet on the Sony, but will be there via a future firmware update, according to Sony. Don't know when that update is going to be. Hopefully it's within the next few weeks or a month or so, because it makes no sense that Sony just launched a PlayStation 5 and their TV is not running 4K 120. So eARC, VRR, which is variable refresh rate, and then ALLM, which is auto low latency mode. All of these are features that are currently not enabled along with the 4K 120. Because of this, I've been saying that I don't recommend the Sony just now until this firmware update comes along. But that was when the Sony was $1399. Right now it's $999. I think that I changed my stance on it. I think that because Sony has finally addressed this issue, you should purchase it, sit on it, wait for them to come out with the firmware update, and you'll have the 4K 120. Sony also has Bluetooth 4.2 for anybody that cares about the Bluetooth settings. Now let's go into the LG NanoCell90 really quickly. 4K panel. I've made a video on all this, so you can go and watch that if you haven't. I'll link it in the description below. 4K panel, 120 Hertz, but does upscale to 200 and 40 hertz called 240 True Motion, I believe, for LG. They've also got the full array LED that supports local dimming, just like the Sony did. 4 HDMI ports, two of them being HDMI 2.1, same as Sony. Now here's where LG does win the game. LG already has FreeSync enabled, VRR, ALLM, 4K 120, all of this is enabled. You can get this now. If you purchase the TV, you get it now. And then they've got Bluetooth 5.0. And the thing that's making me want to stay with the LG is their WebOS system and their Magic Remote. I really like the Magic Remote. It makes using the TV much easier. It makes typing, if I'm searching up something, it makes it much easier. And it's one of the, I know it's such a small thing as the remote, but it's really making me consider staying with the LG rather than going with the Sony. Here's my issue with the LG so far. I've had it for 2 weeks. I believe it's their Alpha 7 or Alpha Gen 3 7 processor, whatever it's called. When I'm in a game, I feel like the image there's a yellowish, not tint, but the temperature of the color or the temperature of what I'm seeing is kind of yellow. It seems like the picture is trying to be enhanced by the artificial intelligence or the processor that they've got in this TV. So when I'm playing a game, when I go out of the game and maybe watch TV or watch a football game, for example, the TV tries to switch the picture mode and it just is not fluid. It just doesn't match. When I'm watching a football game, I notice that the grass isn't the color that it normally is on other TVs. It just seems a little off. If I switch it back to the game, there's like a yellowish temperature to the whole color of everything that's going on. It's just kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it seems like LG is trying to be pretty good with enhancing the picture, but it's kind of getting it wrong. In the last video, I said the LG was 8K upscaling, or there was a feature that upscales to 8K. After using it for a few weeks, I realized that I am wrong on that. It is not 8K upscaling. I think just the site that I was reading that said it was 8K upscaling was not accurate. There were a few that I read, but that's not accurate. This TV is not 8K upscaling. That's in their Alpha 9 Gen 3 or Gen 4 processor, or whatever it is. That's the next model up. So if you were waiting for a clear-cut solution or a here's what you should do, here it is. If you're somebody that likes to watch a lot of movies, I would recommend the Sony. If you're somebody that likes to play a lot of games, I would recommend the LG. So here's why. Sony has done really well with black levels for years now. I was selling TVs in 2014, 2015, 2013, I believe was the first time that I sold. And at that time, Sony did really well with the black levels. They have continued to do really well with black levels. A good movie, for example, is the Batman Dark Knight movie. There was a scene in that movie where Batman is underneath a tunnel, or inside of a tunnel, excuse me, and you can just tell the different black levels on the Sonys. Now that's not to say that the LG does not that well with black levels, but it's just the contrast ratio on the Sony compared to the LG. Sony kills it. Now if you're somebody that games, obviously the 4K 120 you have right away, so the LG would be the solution for you. And also LG has a better latency. LG does better with gaming overall. Now if you're somebody that games, LG is the better solution. Ratings.com is a company that tests TVs every year. You might think that they're a little biased if you know anything about them, but I think that they do a really good job with trying to stay unbiased, trying to give you the scientific facts. And they have stated that the LG 90 is a really good TV for gaming compared to the Sony. The Sony didn't do as well for gaming, whereas the LG didn't do as well for movies and watching any sort of picture on your TV. So there you have it. Movies, Sony, gaming, LG. If you are somebody that's purchased a next gen console, maybe the LG is a better solution if you're looking for the 4K 120 right away. If you're somebody that hasn't purchased a next gen console yet but is planning to do so in the near future, especially a PlayStation, I'd say Sony, just because then you'll have Sony for the TV, Sony for the console. Even if you're planning on getting the Xbox Series X, I would still say Sony is pretty good if you're willing to wait. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight and clarity. Both TVs are currently $999. That is a phenomenal price for both TVs. Either way, either decision you make, you're going to get an awesome TV. With the Sony, you just have to wait a little bit for a firmware update. So good luck in your choice. I guarantee whichever decision you make is going to be an awesome decision. You'll have an awesome time with that TV anyway. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this gave you insight. If you have more questions, you can always message me on Twitter and I will message back and we will go from there. Thanks for watching. On to the next video.